What's up, y'all? My name is Ian Edwards, and welcome to the Soccer Comic Rant. We got three winners on the show. Yes, Martin's here, and Spurs won. Lee's here, and Southampton won. I won. I'm here, and United won. And Neil's not here, and Chelsea even won. So, it would have been a four-winner podcast, but we got three. Three is good enough. And today we're going to talk about, speaking of winning, Liverpool's comeback win versus Newcastle. It was pretty impressive, and it's a win that means more than a winner. We'll get into that. We're going to talk about Arsenal dropping points. We're going to talk about the championship in Southampton. We're going to talk about how Martin feels about his new coach, and we're going to talk about Man United going down and then coming back and winning the game 3-2 at Old Trafford versus Nottingham Forest. We're going to talk a bunch of things. Thanks for listening on Spotify, on iTunes, at All Things Comedy, and Omni Studio. Like and subscribe on YouTube, and let's get into it. So let's say, what's up, Martin?
Hey.
See you in a minute. You good?
Yeah, just came back from South America, and I'll chip in with some thoughts when related to when we'll be talking about football and games. Enjoyed the trip very, very much. One thing that I have to mention is even in a city like Asunción, where I was most of the time in Paraguay, people are playing soccer after work, women, men. It's the whole culture. Everybody's playing soccer, which is. No matter what size, no matter how big the belly is, they have skills. They have some skills.
All right, that's good to hear. And we got Lee Hudson, stand-up comic from England, a Southampton fan. How you feeling, fam?
Yeah, all good. We're just on a bank holiday weekend here, so no one worked today.
What holiday is that exactly? What?
I don't even know. But all I know is that it meant I did nothing today. So. Well, I had shows like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So today I slept in, and then I went down to the coast and had a hike by the coast. It was nice. So yeah, it's plenty of football to chat about as well from the weekend.
All right, that sounds good. I myself had dinner yesterday at the spot called Italy in Santa Monica / off the Avenue of Stars with Marco and Moro Laviali, right? They're in town, and they work on different documentary projects, like they did the Juventus documentary, and they came on when we had the Super League threat, and so they invited me to link up with them because we couldn't link up, because one of them lives in town, one of them doesn't, and he's leaving on Tuesday. So I was like, we had to link up before that. So they said, let's meet at Italy. So I go and meet them. And when I walk in, it's a rooftop restaurant. When I walk out, I see Chiellini there. And they're standing around him and they're talking to Chiellini, because they're friends with Chiellini and everybody from Juventus, because they did the Stars and Stripes documentary. So that I got introduced to him and said, what's up? And I thought we were eating at the same table. But what happened was they're in town to do the documentary about the story of his life. He has a very interesting life, and they're in town. So they were shooting with him earlier. And then they said, good night. We'll see you tomorrow. And then they both ended up at the same restaurant by accident for dinner yesterday. So we sat said the intros, talked to him a little bit. And then we sat like one table away, but it was good to meet him. He seems like a really humble, nice guy, and maybe going to try and get him out to the comedy club, and nice. maybe try to get him on the podcast. We'll see what's up. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, because I didn't expect to see him. So yeah, and we're here, and let's get into it. Like Martin, who did Spurs play this weekend? I forgot.
Bournemouth.
So, and what was the score of your game, Martin?
2-0, I believe.
2-0. Let's confirm that. It's
It was 2-0. Bournemouth is where I was today actually for my coastal hike.
Oh yeah,
Just outside Bournemouth, yeah.
just outside Bournemouth. I just normally have it in front of me, and I just don't for some reason. So I just wanted to. I don't doubt you. I know Spurs won because one of the things in the chat was like, by the time Spurs played, when did you play? Saturday. You were top of the
Yeah, we played Saturday, I believe. Yeah, Saturday.
yeah. So you were top of the league, and you blew it already, and
Yeah. Without even playing.
you, well, you played and you were top of the league.
No, I'm
And
saying,
now,
but we mean we blew it before without playing.
and that now two teams are ahead of you.
Yeah.
Same amount of games, and that's how Spurs is. But how do you feel about your new coach, bro?
Well, listen. Talking about top of the league, it's everybody knows that it's City and far nobody else after City, and I think it's even more this year. But I'll get to it later. I feel very good. It reminds me of the time when we got Pochettino for the first time, and we sold Bale for a lot of money, and people were saying that we're gonna struggle, and we didn't. We actually rebuilt the team around some younger players, some good new talent. I'm very, very excited to see the way we play. We have completely revamped the defensive formation and defensive play, and we have a new goalkeeper. I mean, Lloris. I'm very grateful to Lloris for what he did for my franchise. But at the same time, last 2 years, I would say he was slipping and he was making mistakes more and more. He was less and less reliable. And I like this new goalkeeper. I like the fact that we play those two center backs that we play. I think they're playing well together. Romero is actually now kind of the leader of the formation, and I think he feels good in that role instead of playing with Dyer and covering for his mistakes all the time. We have fullbacks that remind me of young Walker and Danny Rose. That there is speed there. There is a high work rate. But I would say the biggest change, and I've talked about it multiple times on this podcast. We've never replaced Eriksen. Antonio Conte was ill-advised to play Højbjerg and some other people in that role, which made no sense whatsoever. Finally, we have a creative midfielder, a guy who can be a playmaker, who can be the distributor, who does the set pieces, and he's the Eriksen 2.0, and maybe even a better version of him, which is Maddison. I think Maddison is playing fantastic football, and I feel like he should be starting for England. He was very undervalued player for Leicester last 2 years. He was the dynamo. He was the engine of that team, and people kind of overlooked him. And I think he has a chance to show how good he is.
Could I just say something? Well, I wanted to say something. You said it kind of reminds you of the time when Pochettino came in. But doesn't the beginning of this season also remind you of the beginning of last season?
No.
Where you won your first, how many you got out ahead to a great start, and then it just ended up.
No, that was 2 years
with
ago.
Your coach. No, but last season you started out great with Conte, and then you ended up. The coach said, "I know we're third, and I'm in a Champions League spot, but I don't believe in this team, and I'm leaving anyway." So don't you just think there might be a little? It's exciting. It's an exciting start. I've watched you guys play. You beat us. So, but are you excited with some trepidation, or are you just like straight up?
No,
like, nah?
Because it's a rebuilding project. I think that the last year team was on its last legs. It was a team that wasn't working. Now I can only see one I would say element that we need to be replaced, which is the striker Richarlison. He's not good enough to play for the Spurs. He needs to be replaced. But I like the young talent that came in. I like the direction. It's a rebuild. We're ahead of the schedule. I don't expect us to finish top 4. So I want us to play exciting football. If we finish top 6, good. If we finish higher than that, then it's going to be Pochettino. It's going to be exactly what Pochettino did in his second season with the Spurs. So I like the coach. He says all the right things. He makes very good substitutions. He reads the team well, and I think so far so good. But let's see what happens. It's a rebuild.
Yeah, I like what he's doing so far for you guys, and I think he has a great sense of humor too. Like he's cracking jokes all the time. He's like, a typical fun Australian guy. He's into humor, there was a clip of him. I don't know if somebody put it in the chat or Lloyd sent it to me, or maybe I just found it, where he joined the panel after the game, and the guy, he was they had to mic him, and the guy that was micing him, Postacoglu, said to him, "Say, hey man, you're not going to introduce yourself to me first?" Because the guy was going to put his hand down down his shirt to like put the mic on him and touch him somewhere personal. So and everybody starts cracking up, but he's just like you need like that voice to like put fun in like tense situations, and also just have some good football knowledge. What do you think about Spurs so far, Lee?
I mean, I say it every season. Spurs are the premature ejaculators of the Premier League. Their fans will get carried away after a good start. It happens every season. But I do think Postecoglou is a good fit for them. I think, players clearly look like they're enjoying playing for him. The sense of humor that you're talking about in the press conferences and stuff, I'm pretty sure like he carries that onto the pitch as well on the training ground. And that's probably why players enjoy working for him, because he's clearly, like I say, a very knowledgeable guy. He knows what he wants from his team. But the fact that he's also personable and able to, show some humor, and I'm pretty sure the players get on well with him. I love the one where someone was asking about his style of football. And the attractive style of football, and he goes, "I'm just copying Pep, mate." That was a great quote. So yeah, he's done well so far, and I think we mentioned it on a previous pod how he's been getting the best out of players which had been sort of stale at Tottenham, like Bissouma. Obviously, came from Brighton for big money. Or big-ish money. I mean, nothing compared to the midfielders that have been moving this summer. But right. He was signed with expectation because he'd been doing really well at Brighton, and then he just hadn't delivered at Tottenham for whatever reason. And then now Postecoglou's getting the best out of him. It'd be interesting to see if Spurs do go in the market for a forward this week before the window closes. They've been linked with Brennan Johnson from Nottingham Forest, who I think is a really good player. Jonathan David at Lille as well, who's quite prolific. So I think they probably will add one more forward. So yeah, we'll see how they get on there. And also, side note, 2 goals for Harry Kane as well this weekend for Bayern in their win. So he's doing his thing out there too. But no, solid win for Spurs. I'm glad I kept Maddison in my fantasy team, even though there were injury rumours as well. So he got me some points. So as long as he gets me points for a fantasy team, I don't care that it means Spurs win. I'll take it.
No, but let me ask you this: Do you think he was kind of a little overlooked? But he's a very good creative English player. I think he
was not overlooked. You're just trying to take credit for what he's done in 3 games. Madison's never been overlooked. He played for England. How does somebody play for England?
Well, I say he's had sort of attitude problems in the past. He's admitted that as well, that he's had sort of issues with that. And also, like, England have a lot of players who can play in those creative roles. There's Grealish, there's Foden who can play in those positions as well. It depends if you're classing him as a 10 or as a winger. But yeah, there's a bunch of players who can play in those positions.
Rashford,
if you're talking wingers, you got Saka as well and people like that. So it's he's playing in the position for England where there's so much competition. And he did well at Leicester. He did well at Spurs. He took Leicester down. He might take Spurs down. Who knows? No, we know that won't happen. But no, he's a good player, but let's not get carried away. There are still, if someone said him or Foden every day. If someone said him or Grealish, I take Grealish every day. No. So he's good, but he's not quite at their level yet.
I like him better.
Yeah, he might get there.
I like Foden, but I like Maddison better than Grealish.
Why, Martin? Why do you like Maddison better than Grealish when Grealish starts over Foden on the same team Foden's on? Just out of curiosity.
Well, he started last game, but Foden started before in the first game of the season. I think Foden is a better player, and I think Grealish is just too. Grealish has a lot of talent, but I think he can have a really bad game. Or Maddison, I think overall is more reliable as a player.
And you're not just saying that because he's a Spurs player now?
No, I said it when he was at Leicester. I liked him back then. You know, I thought that
Mm.
there was a rumor that he might go to United like 2 years ago for ridiculous money. He didn't, but I was surprised that the bigger teams didn't buy him until this summer. I was really surprised.
All right. So, yeah, you guys are doing good. Spurs is in a very great position. You're third in the table, 3 games in, 7 points, I think, because you had a tie, I think, your first game. So,
Against
all
Brentford,
right.
and we have 2 winnable games. The next 2 games, we'll see. Of course, like I said, it's a rebuild, so I don't have like a high expectation for every game. We're not like favorites to win most of those games, but the next 2 games are very winnable.
You don't have. What's your expectation for Spurs this season?
Like I said, top 6.
Top 6. All right.
And
A lot.
better football. Last year we just played bad football. Just played
Yeah.
good, exciting football like so far.
All right. That's fair enough. A lot of teams would consider top 6 high expectation, but you're considering top 6 low regular expectations. All right, that's cool. So I guess let's talk about like one of the hottest games this weekend. It was the last game. It was on Sunday. It was Newcastle versus Liverpool. What's your thoughts on this game? Liverpool won 2-1, and they played up at Newcastle, which is a very up-and-coming team that finished ahead of Liverpool last season. They got the Saudi money. What are they saying over there in England about this game, Lee?
I was watching the game in a pub in central London because I was about to go to a show. I was watching with a friend of mine, Preet, who's a Liverpool fan, and we were sat in this bar, and I had to leave at half time to go to a show. So I only watched the first half. I've since watched the second half, but at the time I only watched the first half. And there were some Newcastle fans in the pub, and when I left at half time, they were mad cocky. They were being quite arrogant because that first half, Newcastle came out the blocks flying. They had, Gordon was running at Trent every opportunity. He got Trent on the booking pretty early on. So he was terrorizing them there. Obviously, there was the red card, which in real time, I thought, oh, he's got the ball there because you saw the ball change direction. But then you see on the replay that he's kicked through Isak's legs to get the ball, and Isak's through on goal if that challenge doesn't get made. So I haven't got any issues with the red card being awarded there. I think that was perfectly fair. And at that point, Almiron was like forcing saves out of Alisson. That when he tipped onto the crossbar was a great save. And obviously they got the goal through Gordon as well, through Trent's mistake. And Newcastle had them on the ropes, and I was thinking, wow, this is Liverpool are shambles here. They're all over the place. They're they pulled off Diaz, who I thought he's been one of their best attacking players so far. Like he'd scored every game for them prior to this. They went with just Salah and Gakpo as like a front 2, and I was like, they're leaving themselves open still. And then I left, and then on the way to the show, and I was just following the game, and then obviously I've since had a chance to watch it and catch up with it. And I mean, firstly, Liverpool fans, you're welcome because I took Darwin Núñez out my fantasy team this week because he hadn't been starting. He'd been on the bench, so I took him out my fantasy team. And obviously, this is the week where he decides to come into a game and score 2 goals because he knows that he's not going to get me any points for it. So, no, I mean, credit to him, 2 great finishes. Credit to Klopp as well for organising that Liverpool team, getting them to calm down for the second half because their heads were everywhere in that first half. They were all over the place, and just credit to him for getting them calm and getting them playing. And Newcastle, this game showed that maybe they do have a little bit of inexperience in the big match situations still. There were some players who I thought weren't really up to standard for them. Some players who I thought were disappointing. So Bruno Guimaraes, I thought, was one of his more poor games that I've seen him have. I thought the decision to take, I don't know if Gordon was injured, but the decision to take him off when he had Liverpool ragged was an interesting one. But yeah, he was playing well. I thought Tonali was playing well and he came off.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe some tactical decisions that Howe got wrong there as well, because everything at half time was pointing towards a Newcastle win. Liverpool down to 10, Newcastle were flying, they were causing them problems. And yeah, so sort of, some poor tactical decisions from Howe, some good tactical decisions and management from Klopp. And yeah, I mean, Liverpool, I think, deserved the win in the end, especially the way they've come back from, the adversity in that game, and two world-class finishes from Nunez as well. Because that had been something he'd been criticised for, getting in those positions previously, sort of especially last season, and then he would, end up shooting wildly over the bar or something, whereas he was cold with those finishes. He was clinical. He was like, I'm going to shoot low across the keeper, like into the side net. He wasn't messing around with those finishes. So yeah, I mean, credit to Liverpool.
Uh, there's some people I want to shout out for this match, and one of them is Mo Salah, because well, first I want to shout out the Newcastle team, because the pressure that they created, especially the turnover pressure, and to win the ball back, and especially at home on a Liverpool team that's fragile, and then like Liverpool is just trying to form a midfield, and they did have Liverpool looking like they were all over the place when Liverpool had 11 men. So you think, well, Liverpool's down to 10 men, they're really going to be all over the place. But Salah, like, playing in the middle, false nine, basically, like after the sending off, like kept that team together. Like you could pass the ball up to him up front and he would keep it and not lose it, which is something I noticed, because Man United, if you pass the ball into our forward player right now, that ball disappears into the defense of the opposition team. So I noticed when people like Salah can play a different style of game than the game that he's normally used to playing. So props to him. Like him holding onto the ball really calmed Liverpool down, period. So that was that. And plus he had an assist, and yeah, and then this wasn't just a win. This is big for Liverpool, because you're trying to see if they're for real, and you won't be able to tell if they're for real until the season goes on more, but real as far as like in their midfield. And it's a new midfield, and losing a man like your captain / best defender is really a test on how good is this midfield compared to their last midfield, compared to last year when their midfield was non-existent. And for them to hold it together up in Newcastle in that hostile crowd with a man down, and not only hold it together, but help to produce a win, you have to worry about Liverpool. Now, it might be too early, based on, what happened to them last season, but that definitely sent a message and chills. Like this Liverpool midfield could be ready to like mount a challenge. So that's where I was looking at this match at. And Darwin Nunez, like I never doubt this guy. You're gonna have some misses when you first come into this league, but if that guy settles down, Gakpo's already settled, even though sometimes they don't play him forward, but they have that option, and they have Jota, and they have Salah and Nunez. They have all this attacking power, and now they might have a midfield. Liverpool is just going to be scary, period. And also shout out to Trent, because he did make a mistake on the pass, but after that mistake, he really killed him. And then as far as Eddie Howe, Tonali was balling for Newcastle, and as far as Eddie Howe taking out, what's the kid from Everton that they Gordon? Gordon was running Trent Alexander-Arnold ragged, but also I would say you put Barnes in, it's like refreshing. It's pressing the refresh button and trying to like attack him the same way with a fresher player and maybe creating havoc, but it just didn't work. So kudos to Liverpool's midfield for holding out a man down, and to Liverpool and clapping him for winning that game.
Yeah, I mean, let me elaborate a little bit. I was very impressed with Gordon for Newcastle. I think Newcastle was in a total complete control of the game. That they made some really stupid mistakes, and Liverpool kind of stole that game. You know, they shouldn't get anything out of this game. Newcastle was so much better for 75 minutes. The one thing with Salah, you mentioned Salah, but I've heard that he's probably done, right? That they might sell him this week
Possibly,
I don't
but
know.
I don't know how much to believe. Yeah,
to Saudi
Yeah.
Arabia, right?
yeah, Al Ali after him, but I mean, I don't think Liverpool. Well, it depends if he wants to go, but I think all things saying that Liverpool are going to reject the bid. So it depends how much he wants to go and if he decides to force it. But at the moment, I think I don't think it's going to happen.
Can
Yeah,
I just say something based on what you're going to say, Martin, about Salah? Like the Saudi league has got to be one of the smartest publicity leagues because, whether this story is true or not, just them like trying to bid for some player that's unavailable creates a story, creates heat towards the league based on what they've already done. So this is just smart marketing.
But Fox bought the rights, TV rights for American market for Saudi League for next year.
Oh, for next year?
Yeah.
Oh shit. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, you have so many players right now. It's just so many players that you have Neymar, you have Cristiano Ronaldo, you have Benzema, Kante, Mane. It's like it's incredible. Like you could have two Premier League teams based on just players playing in Saudi Arabia, and they'll be competing for top six probably. But Liverpool didn't convince me. I mean, they have a lot of offensive talent, but somehow they're like all those players are not like top level. I like Diaz sometimes. Gakpo can have a really good game, and he can be completely invisible in a game like in this one. So it's definitely not Mane and Salah at their best with Firmino between them. It's definitely not that. They're not as potent offensively as they were at that time. Now the question is, will those younger players develop, and will they be more consistent? Otherwise, I don't see Liverpool competing for the title. I don't think they can.
So you don't respect Sabasali, McAllister?
They all can play very good games. The question is how consistent they're going to be. They didn't show consistency.
Right. I mean, this weekend was a good. Like I said, it's going to take the rest of the season to see, but it's a great. Like the way you're proud and have belief in your start. Like that game up there in Newcastle. Ask Aston Villa how easy it is to go up there and play. Ask United how easy it is, or it's not to go up there and play. It's pretty good. But all right, you're entitled to your opinion. I feel you.
I just don't think I remember when Liverpool 3 years ago was winning the title. I don't see this team winning a title. Simple as that.
All right, we'll see. What that championship do, Lee? What's going on down there?
Another win. We played QPR, who, I mean, they came to play and be solid defensively and try and hurt us in moments on the counter and stuff. And they were a tough team. We played pretty well. First half, we scored a goal through Edozie. He was breaking fullbacks' ankles with some of his runs. There's a bit of pressure on him because Teller wasn't in the squad because he was flying out to Germany to do his medical at Leverkusen, and that deal's now done. So he's gone, and so there was a bit of pressure on Edozie, and we put a 17-year-old in the first team to replace Teller, Sam Amayor, who's an ex-Tottenham academy player who we pinched because he realized he wanted to play for a big club. So we took him, but no, he made his first start, and he made some great appearances off the bench recently, but him playing from the start, you realized, oh, maybe he's not quite there yet because he didn't really deal with the pressure of being in the team from the go. But Edozie did. Edozie played well. He scored a goal. Second, they equalized immediately as well. We scored and they hit us back straight away, which is frustrating because that's happened in a few games. But we've always had the character to turn it around, and that's been a pleasing thing because second half, QPR came out and they were putting us under some pressure, and the manager looked at it and made a few changes. So Ryan Fraser came off the bench, who we literally signed on loan the day before from Newcastle. He hasn't played a proper game for ages, and he came in and he looked awesome. He looked like the 2018 Bournemouth Ryan Fraser that people rated. He didn't look like the one that's been sitting around not playing for ages. But him and our manager used to play together for Scotland. Because when we were being linked with him, I was thinking like, oh, this guy, he's fell out with the manager at Bournemouth. He fell out with the manager at Newcastle twice. And one of which was the same manager, Howe, at both clubs.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, maybe there's some attitude problems there. But the manager came out and in the press conference on Friday, and he said, I played with him at Scotland. I know him. I understand him. I know that he's keen to prove a point and to play, and that he's got quality. So, everyone just chill out, let him come in, let him do his thing, and see what he can do. And he came off the bench and he played great. He was putting crosses in that were on a plate for people. We didn't have the finish quite there, but he looks like he'll be a really useful player for us once he gets match fit as well, because this was just sort of like a cameo appearance for half an hour. But he looked really good, and he's already filled the gap that Teller's left, and apparently we're looking to buy another winger as well. So we should have that covered. Part of those changes as well, the manager dropped Adam Armstrong from centre forward back into centre midfield, playing as a number 10, which he'd been doing great for us recently. And he scored the winner for us. Great goal. He sort of flicked it up off one foot, let the ball bounce, and then hit it on the half volley across the keeper. Unstoppable finish. So he's loving life back in the Championship. I don't know if it's that he's back in the Championship or that it's the new manager. It's probably a combo of both, because he didn't look up to standard in the Premier League, but he's potentially going to get us back there if he plays like this still. But we're fourth in the league, but we're joint second. So the other teams that have got 10 points with us are Norwich, Preston, and Birmingham. Tom Brady Birmingham. They won their game in the 95th minute. They were 1-1, and then they scored a winner late on.
They won it Tom Brady style.
Yeah. But the team who are top are Leicester still. So previously it was Leicester and Ipswich, who were the two teams that have won all their games. Ipswich lost to Leeds this weekend. Leeds turned them over quite convincingly, but Leicester, they played Rotherham, and they didn't play great either. They played some nice football, but they were 1-1, and then they ended up scoring late on to win the game. Rotherham had a goal disallowed as well. So they've won all 4 games, Leicester, but they're still adapting to life in the Championship as well. They've had some games where they've not played that great, but they've turned it around and got the wins. So they're a little bit more stable and a little bit more settled than our squad is, because we've obviously got some gaps to fill. Flynn Downs, who we signed on loan from West Ham to replace Ward-Prowse, he came on during this game in the first half when one of our players got injured, and he looked great as well. He looked a real leader. He ended up topping the game for passing statistics, even though he came on 25 minutes into the game. So he looks great. And it would just be interesting to see if we go and spend any money this week. We've been linked with an England under-21 centre-back from Swansea, Nathan Wood, who's a really good player. So hopefully we can get him in. But yeah, Holgate didn't sign in time to play, so he didn't play. And Shea Adams was out the squad completely because the manager said he wasn't in the right frame of mind to play because of the transfer rumours.
Calm down, Shea. Calm down.
Well, that was the manager's decision. He said the manager said he took the decision, and we've offered him a new contract because he's got 1 year left. But apparently from what I've heard, he wants to stay. But there's agents and all sorts of people trying to sort of make him move because they obviously want their cut of some Premier League money if they can get it.
Right.
So that wouldn't surprise me. But I mean, I hope he stays. I like him, and he's clearly a good goal scorer in the Championship. I still don't understand why clubs in the Premier League think he's their goal scoring saviour, because he's proven with us before that he won't be in that league anyway. I think he will be for us in this league if he stays. But I think Everton have looked elsewhere now. They're going to sign a guy called Beto from Udinese, who's a Portuguese forward. So yeah, I think he'll be going there. So that depends on who else is going to come in for him, because Palace and Bournemouth have tried to sign him before as well. So we'll see if he goes anywhere. But no, we started well. We've got one more game before the international break. We're playing Sunderland away next week, so that's probably one of the longest trips we'll have this season. Them and Middlesbrough, we got them both in the next sort of month. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with how we've gone so far. It's it's a lot of transition in terms of players leaving, players coming in, and we still managed to carry on winning games during that. So long may that continue. I can't wait for the transfer window to close so people stop leaving. I want to just know who our squad is for the season. So yeah, we'll get there. So Shane Teller went, but I mean, the opportunity to go play for Leverkusen with Xabi Alonso as manager, play European football, that's understandable. And we got a good price for him. I'm just glad he didn't go to Burnley. So
Well, at least you guys are doing good at the time when everything is unsettled. So when you're settled, you should be even doing better. Hopefully, that's what you expect. You mentioned. Well, I guess I got to talk about United because it leads into like the biggest game of next weekend. Yeah, or one of the biggest games of next weekend because there's a bunch of games that normally wouldn't be as big, but they're big now. Like Liverpool has to play Aston Villa, so that's kind of a big game. But so next week we play Arsenal, and but this week we played Nottingham Forest at home, and we're coming off a loss to Spurs, so we needed to like at home put our foot in some Forest ass. But what happened was in the beginning of the game, they put their foot in our asses. And the beginning of the game, like we get a corner, and is it on what? I knew I was gonna have trouble saying this guy's name.
Awani.
Awani, just goddamn light flared down the pitch, and with Anthony and one of our fastest players, if not our fastest, but Rashford, like trying to catch up with him while he's dribbling the ball, and they can't catch him, and sits Onana down. It's pretty embarrassing, and then slots the ball in the side of the net. And then you're like, all right, we're going to get it together. They just got lucky, and we're going to get it together. Less than 2 minutes later, the lot gives up a free kick. They flash the ball in, hits Bali's head. Forest up 2-0, and we're down. But I would just say that after that, we really got our act together, and we put it to them, and we outplayed them for the rest of that match. I've been watching. There's so many thoughts here, so I'm just trying to organize them. I guess one of the thoughts is I've been wondering why United has looked so bad, even though we won one of the 2 games before this. So I've just been like looking at different breakdowns of like how we play from Tifo. There's this other thing called footy. I can't remember it, but this guy, he's pretty good. And it gave me some sense of like comfort. Like we have a coach that's been at the team a year, but he's doing some different things. And we have to wait till those things set in, you know? Like if you go to the Arsenal game for this weekend and you look at how some of the fans feel about the Arsenal draw, and one of the fans was adamant that Arteta putting what's the Arsenal midfielder who's now Partey, who's playing right back. Yeah, he's like Arsenal's and Arteta is changing things too much. And these are the same people when Arsenal was trying to play out the back a year and a half ago and we're unsuccessful. We're like, let's stop playing out the back. But last season, because of the trials and tribulation of the season before, Arsenal learned to play out the back, you know? And now they're very effective from playing out the back. And it's the same thing with this Partey change. It's, you know, he's an intelligent player, most likely will work. And when it starts working, they're going to act like we should have been doing this all along. And it's the same thing for us. Like we're doing things that are kind of hurting us right now, but when they start working, we'll be a better team for it. So you have to take the growing pains. So I'll take the growing pains. I still think we need to be more aggressive. Like we just do. Like like we definitely need more energy, but maybe thinking about what we're supposed to be doing on the pitch because of new instructions is kind of slowing us down. So hopefully we'll get, past that and everything will become like organic and everybody will just start moving the way they're supposed to be moving. And yeah, Rashford, I wouldn't say he got us into trouble, but he definitely helped to get us out of it. Like he could have been more aggressive on that corner that we took. And a lot of people are like, what is Rashford doing out there on a corner? He's a forward, so why wasn't he inside? But also on the free kick that he got the assist to the assist on, this might be a thing by design where Rashford stays out on like corners or any type of set piece crosses because he was on the outside of the box for the cross that Bruno sent to him for our free kick. And then he sent it back into Bruno, and then Bruno crossed it to Casemiro, and Casemiro put it back in it. So maybe it's just the way they're set up. And again, if he's going to be that guy out there instead of a defender, he's got to get used to it. But he's been tentative the first 2 games, so he could be more aggressive. He could have took a yellow for fouling. What's his name?
Awani.
Awani, but he didn't. He tried to like match him speed for speed, but Awani was like facing in the direction they were going, and he had to turn, so he got beat. So yeah, and then I like to give a shout out to Casemiro. He's been taking a beating for the first 2 games, but one thing you can say about Casemiro, like for a holding midfielder, a CDM, he sure knows how to get into a scoring position. Like his runs into the box are perfect and precise. Like just there's a bunch of times where you see somebody miss a chance and you look and you see it's because Casemiro, and you're like, how did he know to get there for that spot at that time? Even though he might not have finished it, there was a header that he glanced wide, but then he scored the second goal. But it's pretty impressive. Like if you watch how many chances he creates from just making the right runs at the right time and just honing in on like the vibe of the game. So given that.
In the last season, he chipped in with quite a few goals then, didn't he, as well?
Yeah. So yeah, we'll figure this out. There's going to be some growing pains, United fans. We're going to lose some games. We're going to drop some points, but we'll get better. We'll get better.
It's exactly the same year after year after year since Sir Alex Ferguson left. Constantly rebuilding, and a lot of money spent. No trophies in the horizon.
In the horizon, no trophies. Are you talking about Spurs or United?
Well, both.
This is both, bro. We got trophies. Like we've
got a trophy last season.
Yeah, we got trophies.
I just watched on. By the way, I just watched on the plane from Peru from Lima to Los Angeles. I watched the documentary about Wayne Rooney. It's a good documentary. It has some, sometimes it drags a little bit, but it was a good documentary. But it reminded me that the last time Man U had a title, it was Wayne Rooney and Van Persie playing as forwards. So it's long past you. You've been surpassed big time by local rivals, Man City. Big time.
Everybody has.
No, I know, but at this, you got to start dream bigger. You got to start dream bigger. It takes too much time. It takes way too long. And listen, this team. I was listening to a podcast by The Guardian. This team is very heavily criticized by the pundits, Jonathan Wilson and some other people. They say this team stinks, and that has a huge gap in the middle, huge hole. And so far, the 6 points, it's much better outcome than the way you guys played. And that you will be exposed against better teams. That this particular team is not good enough, and yet again. So that's
Martin, I mean, I just said it's a work in progress. So yeah, there's going to be holes.
Yeah, but that's
and
a long.
Play the game.
Too long. Work in progress. Too long.
Nah, we're doing something different. We're doing something different. So I get it. The only thing I argue with, like, because we do need like a an injection of energy in the team, I would play some of the kids. Like now, I hear we're in the market looking for a left back, and it's like Alvarado Fernandez played great in the preseason, and every time I've just seen him just play. Period. Like he's not shy, he's not afraid, he's aggressive. Like we're looking for Gravenbach, who failed at Bayern. I still want to get Ammer back, but let's play Gore. Gore had a great preseason for us, and also like Bruno is working his ass off. Excuse me, and there's no way he's going to be able to keep it up. Play Hannibal sometimes, I hopefully they'll get in more towards the end of the season, but the academy players, they bring an energy that like the starters who are almost guaranteed a spot don't have, because they're hungry and they're trying to prove themselves. The reason why Garnacho was so successful, because he had that academy energy vibe. Like, I got to get out here and do something. This might only be for 5 minutes, so let me go get it. And we have that energy on the bench, and we're not injecting it into the team. I'd rather see it on the field. So that's the only issue I have with Ten Hag right now. But yeah,
what about Anthony? Did you give up on Anthony?
He had a better game this week, but it could definitely still be better. Like I've never said or mentioned or hinted about giving up on Anthony. He's frustrating for sure, but we'll see, man. We'll see. Like just going back to the Liverpool, I did want to talk about some calls in the Liverpool game. Like that, like what do you guys think about the Trent Alexander-Arnold not getting that second yellow?
I think it was because the ref realised that he fucked up giving him a yellow for the first one, because the first one was a foul on him by Gordon when he was running off the pitch. He's leant into it. He wasn't trying to get the ball. He just shoved him as he was running off the pitch. So that's a foul on Trent. So I can understand why Trent was pissed off and threw the ball away. I'm booking him for that. Like, that's one where just go over and talk to him and tell them both to calm down and give a free kick to Liverpool, because that's what it was. So I think in the second one, because it was so quickly after, I think the ref kind of realised that, I probably fucked up on the first one, because the second one is actually a booking. The one that he got away with, that is a booking. The first one's not a booking, because it's a foul on him. And then, so yeah, I think the ref kind of just leveled it up. So overall, for those two things, Trent deserved one booking, and he got one booking.
Right, exactly.
So it kind of evens itself up, which isn't kind of the way you want it to be. You want the referee to get those decisions right, because I don't think the first one was. So yeah, I think that, it balanced itself out overall, but it was still bad refereeing.
Yeah, but sometimes two wrongs don't make a right, but sometimes you have to fix something in the game that you can fix, as opposed to like an apology afterwards. Like, you shouldn't have.
Yeah.
The reason why he got the first yellow is because you failed to make a call that you should have made. So you upset him, and then now he deserves a yellow one less than a minute later. But it's like, you already gave him that yellow as if you're a fortune teller, and you could tell he was going to get a yellow, so you just gave it to him ahead of time. So now you can't give him a second one because it's not his fault. So I agree with pretty much everything that you said. I'm just trying to see what's another big talking thing about the league so far, Martin.
About the Premier League?
Yeah. Man City won, that's kind of, not boring, but they won. They should beat, trying to look and see, they should beat Sheffield United.
We're gonna play not next, but next Sheffield United. So
you think you can win that?
Yeah, I think so.
You sure?
No, I'm not sure, but I think so.
It's hilarious. Let's talk about the upcoming games. We don't have to, so one of the big games this weekend, and I was going to go into it from an Arsenal talk about the Man United talk, is so Man United versus Arsenal. Now, this is why this game is huge. It's huge because it's Man United versus Arsenal. It's the last game of next weekend. But it's also an international break right after that. So Man United cannot afford, even though we've had shaky form all season, we can't afford to lose this game and then go. How long is the international break? 2 weeks. With a lost.
Trying to think how long it is. Let me just have a look on the fixtures here.
Mm-hmm.
So we got the games this weekend. So the last games will be on Sunday the 3rd, and then the next games aren't until Saturday the 16th. So yeah, pretty much 2 weeks.
That's 2 weeks. So we that alone is like you have to do something, and it's gonna be harder because Arsenal already dropped points that they didn't expect to drop when they lost to, or they didn't lose, but they tied with a 10-man Fulham, who you're supposed to be able to beat Arsenal at home, but you didn't beat. And so, yeah, so let's see what we can do against Arsenal. Hopefully we can at least get a point. Martin, how do you think this game will go?
It's a really head scratcher for me because I wish both teams as worse I could possibly wish. So 0-0.
I'd take that. I'd take that.
It's at the Emirates, isn't it?
Yeah, it's at the Emirates, unfortunately. Yeah.
Ooh. I mean, I think. I mean, you're not going to like this, but I think it's going to be 2-1 Arsenal.
You're right. I'm not going to like that.
I think you're still looking weak at the back, and I think they've got enough firepower in their team to just about outgun you. But I think it'll be close. It could go either way. It could easily be a draw, but my head's telling me 2-1 Arsenal.
Yeah. There's one thing I did like about us last week. Like you could see the system, despite the early 2 goals that Forest put in ahead of us, you could see like our system when we started attacking them, like the flow was better. There was more cohesion, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka was stepping up and doing his thing, not just defending, but being an offensive threat and doing some good combinations with Bruno and Anthony. And Anthony's decision maker was like a degree better than the weeks before. So hopefully, like we see more growth in that direction, and that growth will help us at least leave with a point from Anfield. But that's going to be tough, man. It's going to be tough at the Emirates, for sure. Not Anfield, the Emirates. Yeah. What other big games do you think this weekend? Because there's Brighton, Newcastle. That's like the 2 upstarts. Yeah. And let me ask you, Brighton lost this week to West Ham. So let me ask you both a question. Is this, so they lost, let me see, and they were at Brighton and they lost to West Ham. Mikel Antonio is a goddamn man. He plays like a man, like he was born for Route 1 football. You give him the ball with one defender, and good luck, defender. You may never see, his kids may never see that defender again. Like he just will just. He was involved in, I think, all 3 goals in a manly, but not just a manly. He's gotten more technical, stronger, and just more confident. So he's in beast mode right now. But so I just want to give him props for that. But do you think...
it was a counter-attack masterclass from West Ham.
Yeah, just from Mikel Antonio. Like he was the counter-attack. But do you think Brighton, after making all that money from Chelsea, is gonna... Do you think it's just one game, but do you think this is where the cracks of selling and the selling like starts hurting your team as much as they sold?
I don't think necessarily hurts them long term, but I think there's always a reintegration period when you sell key players, and then you have to figure out how you play without them. Like there's new players that have come in, like Milner's come in. Billy Gilmore's getting more game time, even though they signed him last season. He's getting more game time, so he's integrating into the team as well. So I mean, I saw enough last week when they blew Wolves away that they're still a good team there. They actually played fairly well against West Ham, other than just being too open on the counter. They dominated the game. They just couldn't finish themselves, which ironically wasn't the problem at Wolves last week, where everything they hit went in. So I think it's just one of those games, and I think the way they play under De Zerbi, that they're always going to be open to that, because smart teams, if you try and press them, they're good enough to just pop it around you and then find the space in behind your team. And they've got pace with Mitoma and March who can hurt you. Whereas West Ham were like, no, you can have the ball. We're going to soak up that pressure. We're going to not give you any space in behind. We're not going to let you draw us into the press. We're going to bring you up the pitch, and then we're going to hurt you in behind because we've got powerful, quick runners who can get in behind you and do damage. So credit to Moyes, because he had a game plan and it worked perfectly. But Brighton will be fine. I don't know if they'll finish quite as high as they did last season, but I don't think that's because they're necessarily a worse team than last season, but just because the Premier League is the Premier League. It's so tough. Like, there's just, teams who can take points off each other every week. And just looking at the fixtures as well, as well as Brighton, Newcastle, Liverpool, Villa stands out as well, because Villa aren't playing around. They obviously took their lessons from Newcastle on the first day of the season when they took that beating, and then they've looked great since. So Villa, another team sort of around that Brighton level who, had a good finish last year and are going to try and replicate it this year. So there's a lot of teams around there who can, like I say, you can all take points off each other. So even Sheffield United this week ran Man City close. So they're trying to find their feet at this level and show that they're not going to just be there to be beaten every week. The ones who haven't shown it yet are maybe Luton. They had a week off as well because their stadium wasn't ready. They didn't really put up a fight against Chelsea. Whereas, this week they play West Ham. So is Luton West Ham going to be two teams sitting in their own box going, no, you attack? They're just going to both want to counter-attack each other.
When that happens, you know what happens, because Ward Prowse can score any set piece and win the game that way. So.
Yeah, I mean, he's another one he's in my fantasy team. I've still got love for him, and it was nice to see him score. He got some assists against Chelsea last week, and then he scored this week. So, I really want to see him do well. I want to see him try and break into the England squad again. So yeah, he had a really good game for them.
All right, and Martin, let me ask you a question. Do you think so? So West Ham got Kudus, right?
That who?
Confirmed now, yeah.
Kudus.
Mohamed Kudus from
Mohamed
Ajax.
Kudus, right? And they got Ward Prowse, right? And who else did they get? Do you think
Alvarez? They got Edson Alvarez from Ajax as well.
What's his position again?
He's like he can play holding midfield or centre back, or even left, I think, as well. He's Mexican. Good player.
So do you think they're better than they were now than they were last year? Like this squad with those additions minus Rice.
Yeah,
it feels like it, right?
They're better, yeah.
And do you think, so do you think Brighton is less better than they were? Who do you think is more? Do you think, how do I phrase this question? Do you think West Ham is more better than Brighton is less better?
Well, here's the thing, Brighton, except of the fact that they keep doing those fraud sales on Chelsea. There's every they just fraud sell some players to Chelsea for big money that never produce. So they do well in that department, but they kind of weaken their squad little by little every year, and there will be a moment where it will probably hurt them. That's what was happening with Burnley for years. Like they were, in the top even 10, top 8 sometimes, and then they finally get relegated because you can't just keep selling. And I think Brighton will get worse. I think Brighton will be in trouble. Although at the same time, the teams that came up from the Championship, I don't think they're very good. So I think Luton will go down most likely. I would say Sheffield United will probably go down too. And the third team could be Bournemouth. I don't know.
Yeah, Brighton is on that trajectory to be the blue Southampton. You know what I mean? Like,
Burnley,
and then Chelsea is their Liverpool. You know, so we'll see what happens.
like I think I'll make a pretty ballsy prediction. I think we can clearly name 4 or 5 teams that are really bad this season. You know, that wasn't the case lately in the league. But
who's your bottom 5?
I would say Luton. Like 3 out of those 5 teams will be relegated, in my opinion. It's Luton, Sheffield, and Burnley.
Slow down. Why Luton? You've been picking on Luton a lot. Like, why them?
I like them, but they had by far the smallest budget. They had one of the smallest budgets in Championship last year. They just don't have enough quality on the team. It's simple as that.
All right.
You get outplayed by a very average Chelsea team. Completely. Very average team. Sheffield and Burnley, I think they're bottom 5, and I think Bournemouth is
why Sheffield and Burnley? Just because they just were promoted?
I don't see much there. You know, I don't see much there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Bournemouth and Everton, but I think Everton, because the other 4 teams are worse, will probably stay.
Yeah, I see Everton more than everybody else you mentioned, because I know the history of Everton in the last few years. And I like, at least with Sheffield and Burnley and Luton, I don't know like their players, how they play. But Everton, like, I can see like them getting eroded every year. There is a way that they can get saved if Dele Alli comes back from his injury and his mind is right, and then Calvert-Lewin starts playing and doesn't get injured as soon as he plays. You know, that could add some offense to a team that at home will dig in and will get that goal. If those other conditions pan out in their favor, they'll get that goal that could give them the win. I don't know what happened to Everton against Wolves this weekend. Like, you should, like, if there aren't that many easy games, but some games in the Premier League, but some games are easier to win than others. And for Everton not to beat Wolves this weekend and just throw away 3 points, like one of the easiest 3 points they're going to get this season, that was pretty bananas. But yeah.
Everton, I watched that game back, and they did look really, really bad.
Oh yeah.
Pickford had to pull off a class save as well, just to stop them from conceding another goal. They're the only team in the league this year who've not scored a goal. 3 games in, they've not scored.
Jesus.
They're on 0 and conceded 6. So that doesn't look good. I mean, even Luton have scored a goal and they've played a game less. Same with Burnley as well. So yeah, I think things are looking bleak at Everton. Just and you know, I want them to go down. Nothing against the club or the fans. I think, you know, every Everton fan I've ever met has been great, but I think they've been mismanaged so badly, and they've been flirting with relegation for so long. They deserve for it to happen. And I kind of think maybe they need it to happen. It was the same with us. Like, we had that period where we were making smart buys, we were appointing smart managers, and then we fucked up. We were mismanaged. We started selling players. We bought crappy replacements. We hired bad managers. And it's like, no, we deserve to go down, and we kind of needed to go down so that we could have the clear out and start fresh. And I kind of think that's what it feels like that's what Everton need right now, because that's a pretty bleak existence doing what they're doing. Just if they finish 17th this season and stay up, that's a bleak existence, because they're just lurching from one bad season to another. It can't be any fun to support them when they're like that. I know, because I've had that the last few years with my club as well. It's not fun. So maybe they need it. Maybe this will be the season where it finally happens, because I think it needs to happen. But they might be saved by the fact that there could be teams worse than them.
All right. Yeah, I do see the possibility of them going down more than the other teams that they mentioned, just because I've watched them slowly erode over multiple Premier League seasons. Any big headlines from this week in football, or anything anybody want to talk about? Go ahead.
Messi,
Oh
Another
yeah, let's talk about those. So
Messi.
let's go ref and Messi, because Messi at least is a fun topic. We could talk about that. So Lee, what's the blow by blow on this thing? The game ends. Spain wins the World Cup, and what happens?
Oh no, that's a different one. I was talking about the Mike Dean refereeing thing from Chelsea Spurs. We can talk about
Oh,
the Spanish FA shit show is a
oh,
big story as well. That's got even crazier today, by the way.
oh yeah, what happened to that?
Today, so Rubiales, the president of the Spanish FA, the one who kissed the player at the end of the game, his mum locked herself in a church and went on hunger strike today, saying that unless her son is cleared and unless the player tells the truth, she'll be on hunger strike, which is a fucking crazy thing to happen.
Tells the truth. So what is the truth? What is she saying is the truth?
She's saying the player keeps changing her story, but I was like, well, I doesn't care because I don't care because the player's statement originally was put out by the Spanish FA, so it's probably false anyway. And and there is the truth is on the video. Everyone can see what happened.
Where is this video? I want to see this. How do I see this video?
I think if you just put in Rubiales kiss, so Rubiales kiss, it'll come up.
Have you seen this romantic makeout, Martin?
Like he grabbed her two hands, like it was clearly like not consensual.
Right.
And the guy's got a history of being a piece of shit anyway. So there's that, and then also all of the technical staff from the Spanish women's national team who won the World Cup, all of the technical staff apart from the manager have quit, saying they won't work if the manager stays and if the president stays. There's been players on the men's national team who said that they're done unless there's change. Then the Spanish FA are threatening to withdraw from UEFA, which would mean all the Spanish clubs in the Champions League wouldn't be taking part, which they've had no say in. So it's all a real shit show right now. The guy just needs to be fired so everyone can move on, and they need some change at the Spanish FA because it's clearly a rotten organization.
What's taking them so long to fire him?
The people in charge are pieces of shit as well, I think. So they're kind of just protecting him, even though everyone is saying like, no, this is bad, this is wrong. Yeah, it just seems to be a rotten organization.
I'm just trying to see the kiss, but the volume of these things keep popping up. Like I've saw a picture of the kiss, but I've never seen the kiss. But yeah, it's pretty crazy over there.
Yeah, it's quite wild.
Let's do the Mike Dean thing. So, can you go ahead? Just spell this out for everybody.
So there was the game last year where Chelsea played Spurs at Stamford Bridge. There was the clear foul on Cucurella where he had his hair pulled, and Spurs scored, and then nothing was called at the time. Obviously, that had big ramifications because Tuchel blew his top and went crazy and got sent off, and it kind of sent him into a spiral at Chelsea, which ended up costing him his job. And Mike Dean, who was the VAR official that day, said that he didn't recommend that the referee go to the monitor to look at it because he thought that the referee, who was his friend, had already had too much like stress and attention in that game already. So he didn't recommend it, even though he knew he should, which is a fucking crazy thing to come out and say. Like, even if that's the truth, don't come out and say that, because now you've just harmed the credibility of all refereeing. And it makes a mockery of the VAR system, because it's like, well, what's the point in having this technology if it's going to be controlled by idiots who are going to make weird personal calls like that? Like, it needs to be objective. It needs to be it was a crazy thing to say. It was something that everyone, I mean, we came on the pod and talked about it after the time, saying Chelsea were robbed. I mean, Martin didn't quite agree. But it was like everyone could see that it was a foul. Like, it was so clear, and for that VAR missed it was mystifying at the time. We're like, how have they not looked at that and gone, that's a foul? And now we know why, because some idiot Mike Dean was trying to do his friend a favor, and I don't think it does the friend any favors, because it causes even more stress in the game anyway, because now a team are incensed that they had a clear foul not given. So yeah, it was a crazy thing to say. Mike Dean was someone who I always disliked. He always seemed to want to be the center of attention when he was reffing on the field. Made some crazy calls a lot of the time. Just a weird dude. So I mean, he retired this summer, and good. If he was doing shit like that as well, just yeah, it's not good for football when that happens, when someone comes out and says something like that, because it's just like, well, what other decisions have been taken like that? What else do we need to question? It just opens the door for more accusations to be leveled at referees when they don't need that. The ones that are trying to do the job properly don't need that, because honest mistakes will get made. But now everyone will be pointing fingers of corruption and things.
Yeah, that's the irony. He said he wanted to give his friend a break, but now that he's come out, he's retired and he's come out and said this, none of his friends or mates or colleagues will get a break, because everybody's going to think about this thing that he said, and any call they make or don't make that feels sketch, everybody's going to go back to that Mike Dean statement, and it's going to cause more hell for all referees and officials than if he just never said it and shut his mouth. So the irony is he was trying to give a friend a break, but he's caused upheaval amongst all referees right now. And then I wonder, was he trying to give his friend a break, or was there another reason? But in the interview, he used giving his friend a break an excuse, because I remember that game, and I remember Chelsea outplaying Spurs. It was Chelsea's probably best game of the season. Like, compared to how they finished the season, even though it was a 2-2, and then they should have won that game. So, yeah, it's some bizarre shit. They should just keep a whistle in Mike Dean's mouth so he doesn't talk anymore on podcasts. You're on mute, Martin.
Yeah, sure. It was a mistake, but you can find mistakes like that in every game. You can question if Van Dijk should have received red card. Like you can point those decisions. I think it's making a big deal out of nothing, really. And there are decisions you can discuss after every single.
Oh, that was the answer I expected from Martin.
I mean, yeah. Plus Cucurella, here's the thing: Romero not only pulled his hair, but I think he pulled it, like in this movie Space Jam, he pulled talent out of him in that play. I didn't play a good single game after that.
Yeah, he pulled it like it was rough sex.
Maybe he's like a biblical Samson, who when he lost his hair, he lost all the powers. Maybe Cucurella lost all the power after.
There's no way to talk about Man United's future left back.
Oh boy, please don't bring that up. I don't want Cucurella.
Yeah, but I agree. I was on mute, but I agreed with you guys. Yeah, the Chelsea was better in that game. I remember, and then Tuchel tried to fight Conte, and then at the end of the season, both were not at those clubs anymore. So kind of ironic.
Yeah. Let's talk about Messi now.
Yes.
Tearing up the MLS. What's up, Martin?
Yeah, I talked to a friend. My friend is a big LAFC fan, and he was complaining to me yesterday that there was a pact between LAFC fans who hold the season tickets, that you're not gonna put them on resale because that's not that's not what the real fans do. But guess what? A lot of fans are not putting their tickets on resale because they can make $1,000 for the ticket. That's how much people are willing to pay, or even more, to see Messi against LAFC next Sunday. And I think you, Lee, mentioned that the prices were pretty high for the game against Red Bulls as well.
$480.
Yeah, which is just showing how much people want to see Messi. And Messi so far delivers. He really plays very, very well. And they have Jordi Alba, who is still, I would say, a prime time left back. one of the 5 probably best left backs in football right now. Still, I think. Busquets maybe is not that great anymore, but for MLS he's very, very good. So this is a very exciting team, suddenly. Very exciting team.
Yeah, and some of the other players have like stepped up to almost the level. Like even that goal that Messi scored, like in his and MLS is confusing, and it's probably confusing because I should be into it more, but I'm just busy with all the other leagues. Like this, the game that Messi just played is his first MLS game, like league game, and I'm like, so what are all these other games he was playing? Like
the Open Cup.
Inter Miami.
He won the trophy already. He won the league cup.
And now he's in a semifinal. So that wasn't a league game either. And then this was but to be playing 9 games and just to get to your first league game, like what is the MLS?
And that's
it's a weird schedule.
They did that. It's the first season they actually put a break in the season for a month to play all those cups. They haven't done it before.
And why did they do it? Because they knew Messi was coming, or it was pre-planned? Like, what's the deal?
Just to have more games, just like UEFA. It's greedy. So it's MLS now, you know?
All right. It's just confusing. Yeah. I'm a football fan, and I was confused.
Yeah, because this is the first time they did it. They never did it before. They even played MLS during the World Cup, you know? And this is the first time they took a 1-month break to play the cup games. So it's like pretty much if Premier League decided, okay, let's make August or September an FA Cup and the Carabao Cup month, and let's play all the cup games and get away with it.
Get that out the way.
Go back to the Premier League.
All right.
That win for Miami against Red Bulls has taken them off the bottom of the Eastern Conference as well. Poor Toronto FC are bottom. They just hired the Canadian national team manager as their manager, like today, John Herdman. So he's left the national team. Well, he's leaving the national team and is going to take over at Toronto.
Why is he leaving? That's a terrible. Like, he has a great potential team. He just made it to the World Cup.
The Canadian Association have been like slashing their budget. They played pretty poorly at the Gold Cup as well. They weren't amazing there. So I think he'd been to a World Cup with them. He kind of did all he could do. So he's moving on, and all of his technical staff are going to Toronto as well, apart from one man who's staying with Canada, Phil fucking Neville. So there's rumors now that Phil Neville will be the next Canada manager, which, I mean, prayers for Canadian football if that happens.
Oh, wow.
This man, I don't know, the man epitomizes the term failing upwards, because he can fuck up, be terrible wherever he goes. He gets another job that always seems to be like better than the last one. So fuck that guy. He's an idiot. And like I say, prayers for Canadian football if he ends up being the full-time manager of the national team.
Well, listen, when he was coach with Miami, for a large portion of the time, Miami was bottom of the league. And now Toronto is about to be, or is the bottom of the league. So they hired somebody who is used to that. You know what I mean? They didn't want to hire someone that would get them off the bottom.
They hired they didn't hire Neville. Yeah. Neville's at Canada.
Yeah, they have Bernardeschi and Insigne. They have two quality players, at least.
Yeah, who hate each other and won't play well together.
Damn. All right, Canada. It's not going to look good. But Messi, man, yeah, he's tearing it up. And he looks good. And his teammates are inspired and energized.
He looks happy as well.
That's the main thing. He was not happy at PSG. He's happy. He loves being there. And that translates, that energy. He's got that energy, man. So I just text Seth at LAFC. Martin, you're going to the game on Sunday, Inter Miami versus LAFC. So hopefully I can get into that game on Sunday, and we'll be able to report on it. Yeah, but I'd love to go to that. I've never seen Messi play.
Listen,
Have you got a journalist pass again, Martin?
I'm gonna get the media pass here for that one. Yeah, I think it's a historical event. You know, it's like people remembering those Pele games back in '70s. So you just gotta see it. You gotta see it. It's a historical event. You know, it's watching the MVP of the World Cup, almost less than a year after he won the World Cup to play in MLS. That never happened before.
Yeah, and he's balling.
I think that media box will be a lot busier than the Portland versus LAFC game we went to. I think there'll be a lot more people up in that media lounge.
Everybody will come. I'm sure there will be like Tom Cruise, like people like that coming to the game. 100%.
Yeah, there's going to be people in that media box that can't even read and write. That's how.
Because Tom Cruise was coming to Galaxy games when David Beckham was playing, and they were friends. So I'm sure David Beckham will come to the game, and Tom Cruise will sit with him in his one of the VIP places there.
Yeah, they meet up. Yeah, it's a good chance to reconnect. Yeah, that's going to be a buzzing ass game. Yeah, I hope let's see.
Plus they have, enough quality players. They have, Martinez, who used to be one of the best scorers in the league. They have this other striker, Campana, who played some decent football before. They have DeAndre Yedlin, your favorite American player, former Tottenham defender. Yedlin's playing better. Even Yedlin's playing better with Messi.
He's playing better. I could see his football IQ went up. Like, I'm not even bullshitting. Like, I'm watching him play. Like, it says Yedlin on the back of that jersey, but he ain't making Yedlin passes. Like, this Yedlin's trying to stay in the team. So,
and of course, for a guy with IQ of Busquets, it's this league is perfect. He doesn't have to run that much. He would just play pinpoint passes, and nobody will stop him.
Yeah, they just look live, man. They look live. They make that pink look live. So
by the way, here's the thing: when we're talking about the scandal with the FA, I didn't realize until yesterday that you guys know who replaced Busquets as the new captain of Spanish national team, and he's like in charge of if they decide to boycott as well. If the men national team will join the female national team, and because that might actually be the finish blow for the president. You know who's the new captain of Spanish national team? Alvaro Morata. I was shocked. I was surprised.
He's experienced. He's been in there a lot of years, so he's one of their older players. So,
and just speaking of like football in general, like Jude Bellingham. You ever heard of this guy?
Still tearing it up.
Man, it goes to the La Liga, game winners. I think he scored how many goals he scored so far in how many games? He scored in all the games.
4 goals in 3 games.
Yeah, and he got the winner this weekend. And so and then
Celta.
So that's just a good look for England. And another good look for England is Harry Kane, like you just mentioned, got 2 in the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
So it's good to like every season you have your team, right? But then for some reason, every new season, there's a reason to watch another team that you normally wouldn't watch even more. So now I'm like really making it a point to like watch the Bundesliga. Like I fell off. I used to watch Bayern all the time, but now I'm watching Bayern like every week.
Your boy McTominay is about to be out there.
Man, listen, I hope this is just not the media just trying to get attention and this goes through. You don't know how bad I want that to happen for him and for me. It's not just selfishness. I think this will like repair both our relationships and what we think about each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it'll be a good opportunity for him if he can get the move. I think his style will suit the Bundesliga as well. He's like an all-action running player, isn't he? Like he thrives in chaotic games. So I think he'll suit that. And that apparently is part of maybe the deal for a swap with Gravenberch, who Ten Hag knows well from Ajax. And he was looking like a real talent at Ajax, and the Bayern move just hasn't worked out. So maybe change of environment could be good for everyone involved in that deal.
I just want to get Amrabat first, and then we can worry about Gravenberch. let's get Amrabat first. Like we need that mature that energy in our midfield. Like we really need that because even this weekend when we went down, like there was some points in the game where Forest could have beat us, where the players kind of like our players kind of like gave up on some plays, and it just Forest just made like attacking mistakes. So we didn't give up another goal, but we definitely need that energy. And like there was a play where Bruno Fernandes made 2 tackles, won the ball, and Rashford turned up and went upfield. But that's the type of energy we need from all our players. Like when you just like hope or just feel like the other team ain't gonna do nothing, or you just don't like put some pressure on somebody, like that could change entire games because they could turn those moments of no pressure into like a clean ass goal. Like Rashford being tentative when that ball came towards him and Owanyi just ran through him. That like a moment like that, like we went down because of that. So yeah.
Yeah, by the way, I forgot to mention that we are buying this young center back from Forest, apparently, from Nottingham Forest. This young promising center back. You know who I'm talking about, Lee. I forgot his name.
I haven't heard about your link with
Forest defender, Tottenham. Let me check. We are like.
I saw you link with Brennan Johnson, the forward.
Brennan Johnson, yeah.
He's not a centre back. He's centre forward.
Sorry.
Or a winger.
We're getting Brennan Johnson and.
What position is Brennan Johnson play? Is he on the wing or is he up the middle?
He can play in either, but he's more of a wide player that comes inside.
From Fulham, Adarabioyo. Tosin Adarabioyo.
Yeah, he's decent.
Adebayo, right? Is that what you're trying to say?
Adarabioyo. No, Adebayo plays for Miami Heat. Adarabioyo.
All right.
Yeah, he's decent. Like solid enough. Don't think he'll.
Yeah, from like a backup, because we obviously have our partnership right now. Hopefully, Eric Dyer will not come back.
I've seen him link with Fulham, so maybe you could get a little swap going.
Yes. Thank you, Eric Dyer, for everything.
Yeah, transfer window closes on Friday, so hopefully, we can get some deals done. Martin, is there anything specific you would want Spurs to do before the transfer window closes?
that guy, the striker from Forest, I would like him. Yeah. Because I can't trust Richarlison. I'm sure there will be a game where Richarlison scores like 4 goals in 10 minutes, and then he's not gonna score for another 6 months. Yeah, he's capable of doing that, but he's just completely unreliable. You can't rely on this guy, absolutely not.
Which is
it must hurt him every week seeing Antonio keep scoring after the beef they've got going on.
Oh yeah.
And every week Richarlison doesn't score.
Right. Antonio should just take his shirt off just to diss Richarlison every time he scores.
Everton made us look like Chelsea, selling us Richarlison. I'll tell you that. It does look like Chelsea.
Yeah, Richarlison is having such a bad time at Spurs. He doesn't even look happy when his teammates score because it's like, shit, they scored and I didn't, and I'm the 9. And it's like, he'll congratulate them, but he'll put his head down and be like, feel more pressure to do something. So, he's got to get out of his head, man.
Yeah. He reminds me of, but Soldado was a nice guy. Richarlison doesn't seem like a very nice guy. He reminds me a little bit of Soldado. But you know what? After Soldado, here's the thing about the Pochettino Spurs when they started being good. Like nobody expected players to be that good. Kane, nobody expected anything. Nobody knew anything about Kane. He was on loan with Norwich. Nobody expected anything from Dele Alli. Nobody expected anything. I mean, Eriksen was playing for Ajax Amsterdam, but he wasn't that great. He was a good player, and then he became a very good player at Tottenham. There were some other players like Kyle Walker, that people didn't expect them to be that good. So I think this team reminds me a little bit because I feel like this Dutch center back is pretty good. I feel like this left back that we have is really good, and the goalkeeper really solid too. So hopefully,
I like how you romanticize a team that never won. Like I can't
We
wait to be
finished
that team
second. We
that never
finished
wins
second.
again.
You know, that's
There
pretty
you,
good.
there you go, there you go. We finished
Finish that.
second.
Listen, finish. If we finish second again, I'm gonna be very happy. You know, like I know.
You didn't finish second. You
We did.
finished third.
We did finish second. We did finish second. Following year, we finished second. So we finished second.
All right.
And we finished third and second in 2 consecutive seasons, and we advanced to the Champions League final a season after that. If we can go on another run like that, I'll be very happy. Very, very happy.
Without winning anything? You'd be happy and not win anything?
Listen, you know, that was a very good run. I mean, trust me, that's a very good run.
Yeah, see, that's that attitude. You gotta want to win.
I want to win,
like,
but I'm very nostalgic about those 3 years. Yeah, I still want to win, sure, but I'm very nostalgic about those 3 years. Those were very fun years, and I'm missing those years because it was fun. We played great football. We were kind of underdog in a way. So I like that.
It's funny. All right.
And I think this kid from Forest, he has a potential to be a special striker. If we can get him, I think he can play very well for us.
You guys are ruining him.
I don't know if he'll go because he's kind of like Forest through and through. I think his father played for Forest. Is it the same kid whose father played for Forest?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think his father won a FA, the Youth Cup with Man United, and then didn't make it at United, and then he might have went to Newcastle and then to Forest. So, but I think this kid kind of grew up at Forest, so it's going to be tough to get a kid from a team that he grew up with that just got to the Premier League and they're just there. I don't know. Good luck with that.
Yeah, it's weird. I watched his dad play. That makes me feel old.
Damn. Yeah.
His dad's Jamaican as well. Was a Jamaican international.
Of course he is. Yeah, of course. Hilarious.
By the way, what position Jamaica finished in the Female World Cup after beating Brazil? Did you guys do anything after that or not?
No, I think we just got out of the group stage, which is I think it's the first time.
Yeah, then they played France, I think, or someone, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think we lost the game after that. But still, like, to get out of the group stage against like a team that's won the World Cup before with possibly, even though she was older, the best female soccer player of all time, huge accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
And we were doing good in track and field too in the World Championships in Budapest. We won some races there too. So yeah, you know, Jamaica sports, man, small island, but we'll be doing something. You know what I mean? Cleaning up. All right. Anybody got any closing thoughts or words?
No, just enjoy the last weekend of football before the break.
I haven't been on a podcast for a while, but I'm gonna just say that I have mixed feelings about all the Saudi Arabian league. I know it's a lot of big stars going there, but I have mixed feelings. I don't think it's good for football. What's going on? I don't think it's good for football, and that's just
why not?
It's those are ridiculous money. That's just immoral. You know, it ruins football, in my opinion. You know, long term, it ruins football.
It changes football as we know it, but will it ruin it? I don't know. You know, it's just changing it, and things change when more money from another area comes into play.
Objectively, the only reason to play there, like players don't go there to compete. Players go there to get their money, you know, and it's defies
why do you think
of sports.
Why do you think players go to the Premier League?
I think they want to win. They want to be part of the great franchise tradition, history, playing the Champions League.
Franchise is the wrong word. No clubs are franchised here, other than MK Dons.
No, but you know what I'm talking about, right? It's all those elements, of course. Money
but
too,
also, though, like there are players who will. You talk about the Premier League is still money driven though, because like players will leave top clubs in their country in Europe to come play for fucking Forest. Like Keylor Navas will leave like PSG to come play for Forest. Like, and that might be a bad example, but there's players who will leave, like Kudus will leave Ajax, a historic huge club that compete at the top of the league, that play in Europe, to go to West Ham. Like, that shouldn't happen.
But
Like
it's
in the
still West
90s,
Ham.
that in the 90s, that wouldn't happen. No, but like Ajax are a huge club. They're competing for trophies every year. Like he's come to play in the
Ajax,
bottom half of the Premier League.
yeah, Ajax has way more of a history of success in football than West Ham. But people are leaving those leagues to come to the Premier League. So it is because of money and more profile. And if the profile of the Saudi league grows, well, people, like you just said, Fox bought the rights. I didn't know that. Now I know that. So next season, I'm going to be watching some Saudi games. I won't even be able to have time to leave the house.
West Ham is around since 19th century. That's the tradition of football. This is the place where the football, was born and raised.
Yeah, but we're
on a sporting level.
I don't see any resemblance of those two. Of course, they'll make more money in England than in Italy right now, or Spain. But at the same time, this is a traditional powerhouse league, and it's always been where Saudi, like nobody goes to Saudi. My dream was to play in Saudi.
Yeah, but what I'm saying though is
a lot of players' dreams is to play in the Premier League. A lot of players' dreams was to be part of the Premier League, play in the Premier League. I talked to many players who wanted to play in the Premier League, really, really wanted to play in the Premier League. I don't think there's one player in the entire world who dreamed about as a kid to play in the Saudi League.
But that wasn't happening. That wasn't happening before the Premier League got a bunch of money.
No, that was happening always. There was always excitement about Premier League. When I was a kid, it was in the 80s, and the Premier League had only.
Premier League didn't exist in the 80s.
It was still an exciting league. It was an exciting league.
Martin, this is why. Listen, if you're South American, you've never seen the best version of your club team, because South American players would leave Brazil and go to anywhere in Europe that offered them more money and a bigger profile. So the Saudi is just like not balancing it out. That's not the word, but they're adding another threat to the level of competition.
No, I think they're spoiling it. I think they're rotting it, and I think that will be
how.
And it's the same happening with golf, as a matter of fact. So I'm very much.
Who cares about golf?
I'm not saying it's a good thing either, by the way. I'm just saying that there are players who will come to the Premier League purely for money over sporting reasons, potentially.
Yeah, but you still have the sporting reasons. Even if the motivation is money, you still have the sporting reasons. And
but if all these players go to Saudi now, will that not become a sporting reason?
Yeah,
it was when Ronaldo went. There was no one else there. But now,
I respect Messi.
Players will be.
Fan of Messi. I was never a fan of Messi, but I respect him very, very much for the fact that he turned down way more money in Saudi Arabia to come to Miami. I really respect him for that.
On a sporting level, though.
On a sporting level, it's more of he's admitting he's now playing for fun. He doesn't need to make it for money. He's playing for fun, purely for fun, and I respect that.
What if players are going to Saudi Arabia for fun?
No, the money.
What if Saudi Arabia? What if Saudi Arabia money is fun for the players that went there?
I'm sure it is. Yeah.
I'm
not even talking about the other stuff that is part of the problem. It's
like what
lifestyle, and
what,
like beliefs and
what lifestyle.
We can that could be the entire podcast, to go deeper into the subject. I'm just purely against it. I don't like that. Hopefully it's just for 2-3 years and it will change and everything will go back to normal, because this
what's normal?
Messi's gone to play in Florida, which, let's not get into their politics.
Football is just changing, period. There's no normal no more.
Not football anymore.
Messi's in Miami. Like Ronaldo's in the Middle East. Benzema's in the Middle East.
Lost a lot of my respect, Ronaldo. I was a big fan of Ronaldo. Now I like Messi better.
Yeah, Ronaldo's really going to miss you.
But luckily Benzema is having second thoughts, and I've heard that he might be leaving, that he hates it there, and he might. He's
not having second thoughts.
The manager doesn't like him.
Yeah. The manager had second thoughts, and now he's got third thoughts.
Well, I hope that people who watch that podcast, they will be on my side. Saudi League is not good for football.
I don't think the Saudi League is a good thing in terms of a moral point of view, but I'm not going to judge people for going there any more than I would for players going other places. It's mercenary, but there's mercenaries all over football. But yeah, I mean, I don't agree with a moral side of things. But like I say, Messi's gone to Florida. Some of the shit that the government are doing in Florida right now, some of the stuff DeSantis is doing isn't. he's almost getting as far as some of the Saudi politics. So yeah, we could talk for hours about that.
Yeah, if you look at like American politics or European politics overall, it's all warlord culture, and a lot of the like riches and money that they got is from taking advantage and of smaller, poorer countries. So somebody might have a better PR job than other countries, but it doesn't mean that their appearance or their civil rights record is better just because they have better PR. It's all questionable out there. You know what I mean? But listen, there's a level of discomfort now because things are not the way we're used to them. So maybe that's where, you're maybe that's what you're feeling. But
No. I know exactly what I'm feeling. I feel that this is a very dangerous precedent for football. Paying that ridiculous amount of money. This is a big PR thing Saudi Arabia is doing with throwing all this money at players, and the players are like like flies at night going to the light, and that's very disturbing, because that destabilizes football, that destabilizes the world of football, that destabilizes the world order, the Champions League, everything. I can talk more and more and more and more, and it's really disturbing, and I'm very, very, very bothered by that.
Well, let me just throw in one thing, right? Like, when we look at football, we're always looking at the top players, right? But you got to think about there's more players who aren't top players than become top players. And the Saudi League opens up an opportunity for players to get paid or make money that you'll probably never hear of most of their names, but they'll be able to feed their families for so much time to come, even though they didn't make it in the top leagues in the top countries. So you can't just, there's other variables too.
But they're not interested in Saudi Arabia with those players. They're interested in throwing, big bucks on big players.
No, some of these players that can't make it, like on some of these other teams, will make it there and make a great living there and be able to feed their families and make at least like second or third generational wealth there and have great careers there and build a name. And you just can't be looking at the top names like that. There's more to it than just Ronaldo going there and Benzema, and there's other opportunities for other people, like just for football, period. Yeah, Neymar. That's on Neymar for going there. Like, Neymar, you're Neymar.
I understand Salah. If Salah goes there, that's close home. He's from Egypt. That kind of makes sense for him to go there. Plus, he's Muslim. He's it's close to his family. That makes sense. But for all those other guys, come
on. Hilarious.
Benzema's Muslim.
Yeah, Benzema is Muslim.
Yeah. Come on, bro. All right. So thank you guys for joining. Congrats, Martin. You got the win. Spurs is doing good first 3 games in. Let's hope that doesn't continue. Lee, Southampton fan, just y'all are feeling your legs down there. Excuse me. I'm glad to hear the results are going good. We need you back up top. So, get out from upside down world in the championship and come through. You know what I mean? Only 97 more games to go, and you can be in the Premier League. You know what I mean? And everybody listening out there, we love you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and comment when we'll hit you back this time. And you want to do this fantasy league?
Oh yeah, I had a better week this week, which was needed. I've jumped up a few places because I was out of the 3 of us in it with Martin and Neil. I was bottom of those 3. We're all closer together now. Martin picked up some decent points this week as well. we're all still down there though. Like Martin's 23rd, I'm 25th, Neil's 26th. I think we were like 27, 28, 29 last week or something. So we've jumped up a tiny bit. But yeah, the top team this year is this week, sorry, is a team that were doing well last year, which is Joachim Henriksen's team, Boca FC. He was up near the top last year, so he's clearly got a good eye for it.
We are like Luton and Everton of the Premier League.
But yeah, Martin got 55 points this week. I got 56, which they're better. The average was 44. So
yeah, and I left Anderson's points on the bench, 11 points. I was so hoping that Ake will not play for City, and unfortunately.
Yeah, there we go. But yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So we'll see how we get on.
Is it too late for me to join?
No.
Get your team together. You can get in there.
Yeah, I'm gonna come last anyway. So I'm just making sure. I have an excuse. I built an excuse because I joined 3 weeks late. But I'm gonna get a team in there.
You know which players are doing the business now though. So
you
got that extra knowledge to come in on.
Do I? I don't know if I know that. All right. Well, thank you all. There goes the fantasy league results. And listen, man, we'll see you this weekend. All right. Everybody's team do good except against mine. One.